Hi, and welcome to episode 7 of our podcast series, Midnight Chats. I hope you enjoyed episode 6. Our guest last time was Kate Jackson, formerly the singer with the Long Blondes. We actually took the episode for that on the road. Stu went to visit her in her garage come rehearsal studio in Bury St Edmunds, and it was a really, really good chat. So I encourage you, if you haven't listened to that already, to go back and have a listen. As I do with all the previous episodes of Midnight Chats, you can still find us on iTunes and Acast and SoundCloud, interviews with the likes of Gold Panda, Cat's Eyes, Polisa, amongst others. We also took this week's episode of Midnight Chats out on the road. Earlier this week, I went to a rehearsal space in East London to speak to our guest. James Righton is a name you might be familiar with. He was part of Klaxons for 10 years. That band came to an end at the start of 2015, and Shock Machine is James's debut solo project. And he actually played his first show tonight, which is Thursday, in London. We caught up with him before that, that first show and the other shows that he's going to be doing in the next few days happened. And yeah, I will leave you with our chat. We talked about loads of different stuff, about how he almost went into wine as opposed to thinking of making more music, and how people might want to go more into food and beer making now than they do want to be in new bands. And he talked about his reflections on his time in Klaxons, with a few funny stories from there. And also, we got into a discussion about whether it's good for bands to play their classic albums in full, and you'll have your own opinion on that. So yeah, here we are. It took place in a very hot side room as he was finalising the set list for those live shows. Loads of musical equipment around us. We were sat on a pair of quite squeaky chairs. But I really enjoyed our chat. He's a really funny, honest guy, and I hope you like it too. So this is Midnight Chats, Episode 7 with James Righton, otherwise known as Shock Machine. Welcome to Midnight Chats. My guest today is James Righton, aka Shock Machine now. Welcome, James.
Thanks for having me.
So we've taken Midnight Chats on the road today, so somewhere a bit different. Normally we do it in the our kind of slightly shabby but glamorous Loud and Quiet office in East London, but today we've kind of taken our mic on the road and we've come to meet James in Dalston. So how do we describe where we are?
Like makeshift studio, rehearsal room, definitely still shabby.
Yeah, we're kind of surrounded by flight cases. I can see some bongos down there.
I can see someone's dry cleaning.
I can see somebody's dry
I can see someone...
Is that Metronomy?
I think that might be Joe Metronomy's. Joggle bobber. I don't know what that is.
Jumping, bumping and giggling.
Sounds fun.
It does.
And various hard cases and whatnot.
Yeah, and we're sat on a pair of quite squeaky chairs. So if you hear anything like that, that's because we're sat on kind of makeshift furniture. And are those bongos down there, they're not yours?
They have nothing to do with me. I don't want anything to do with them.
Would you ever bring any percussion into the equation?
I say never, but no, you can get away with it, I think. There's good bongos and bad bongos.
Yeah.
Sympathy for the Devil.
True.
Good bongos. Reflector, Arcade Fire. Good bongos. Great bongos. But then too many bongos, I just think of gap years. And, kind of... Campfires, yeah. And
I think the thing with the bongo is that most people, regardless of whether they have any musical skills, feel like they can play bongos. Because they'll just pick them up and they'll just like sort of start patting.
Yeah.
And you're just like,
it's quite Manu Chao, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's what I think. I think Manu Chao, kind of Trostafarian vibes,
Oh, definitely.
Not, yeah. But you're right, it's an accessible instrument, that's for sure.
It is. So today... you've got a pair of shows coming up at the end of this week, which is your first one's a Shock Machine.
Yeah.
So presumably this is the point where you're getting in the final bits of rehearsals.
Yeah.
And how are you feeling?
Yeah, really excited about it. We've got we're in the bit where we can play all the songs, but it's just kind of like tightening it and kind of making it as good as possible, and just kind of, it's like, band camp, just hammering it every day, going over the songs, and I'm trying to get, I want to make sure live that it's kind of not the same as the record and is live rather than just a track, but I want it to be as good as possible. And it's odd for me because obviously I came from a really well rehearsed band, a band that had been going for 10 years that was, by the end really well played in. We had started off terrible and then became, quite
like a slick big band.
Yeah, kind of like,
and there's production involved.
Exactly. And now I'm going back to trying to figure out what we are and what this is live, and it's like, I'm not expecting it to be like, oh my god, this is the finished article straight away. Because I think you need to learn on stage what works and when it doesn't, and But I'm trying to get it as close. I kind of know in my head what I should do when. It's like I was going over the set list last night, and it's quite hard because you don't know when the low points should come or when the kind of it's like a DJ set, I guess, but it's until you've actually done it in front of an audience, you're not completely sure like what'll be perfect, or,
And what can people expect, like from the band? So who are Shock Machine when you play live?
We've got Anna, who is in Metronomy on bongos. Sadly not bongos. No,
she gets the privilege of a full drum kit.
She gets the whole drum kit and no bongos.
Yeah, and a fantastic drummer as well.
Yeah, she's brilliant. And she's just a good vibe kind of person. She's great to have around. And maybe Ed from Friendly Fires, who's the guitar player in Friendly Fires. He's on bass. And then the drummer in the band called Citizens is on keys, and then a really nice guy called Michael, who's from Australia, who was in Aussie bands and all sorts, and he's on guitar. And then me just dancing about, singing away. And
when it comes to live, are you going to be playing instruments? Are you going to have a bit of freedom? Like, how do you see the setup? I'm
free, bar acoustic guitar for a couple of songs.
Okay.
Yeah, it's really fun. It's really kind of I don't feel locked behind anything, so I feel quite able to do whatever I want. And I think I'm going to channel my inner Mick, or my inner who are the great frontmen of all time? Jim, Mick. No, I'll be like a low budget Mick.
That's a good place to start.
Yeah, like the EasyJet Mick, maybe. I think it's going to be fun. I've really enjoyed it. Just rehearsing, and we've all just clicked, and we already kind of joke and kind of have our in things, and that bands kind of have when you spend a lot of time together.
Well, that's a good sign because we
like hanging out together. That's like, I think it's
really the nucleus of a good thing, right?
Yeah, I think so, and I think that there are lots of bands that probably don't actually enjoy hanging out together. That's the thing. I always remember going to festivals and there'd be the odd one or two where everyone had their own tour bus, and then you just meet on stage, and then you go to the next venue. And I don't know. I think you can convince people that you're a band and that you're that you're a gang. But I don't know. Like I don't know. I think you see through it a little bit. You can, because you there's no energy on stage. There's no like, I don't know. You don't smile at each other. You're not having fun playing together and just kind of hanging out. And I think your band, in essence, should be that. Really, it should be kind of, it's the antithesis of a laptop musician. It's people getting together to try and enjoy themselves and make something that can make people move and sing and dance. And
we were talking about just before we started recording LCD Sound System, who I managed to catch at Primavera, who are the kind of embodiment of that, I thought, because it looked like James Murphy was introducing all of his band members like individually between songs, and they were smiling at each other. They were clearly absolutely buzzing to be back, to be like to be playing together again. And so the crowd were just like totally
on it. And they don't get off stage, go into limos and all disappear in their own. They hang out together. They go, they'll have dinner together. They'll go out together. And they bring that party then to the stage, and it kind of resonates with people. So I've always thought that's a really important thing to have when you're a band. I don't know. I'm just not into that like idea of people just doing it for a check and showing up, and create the vibe, create the party, and then just like people will vibe off it, I think.
How is the EP, the songs on EP, and the rest of the set like coming to life? So what can people expect? Because presumably you're going to be playing for 40 minutes, an hour, or whatever. So how's it all panning out?
Yeah, the EP was, it was quite fun. We did, because we've had a few weeks of rehearsals. We started Confusion, which is like the fourth track on the EP, which I wasn't sure if I was ever going to play it live when I wrote it. I don't know why. I just thought it was kind of a cool track that would be on a record that would never be live. I don't know, would never live in a live environment. But I just played it yesterday. It was really, it has a real life of its own. It's great. It's got a really kind of like rocking Akadaka moment to it. It's
That's cool. So is that going to open the set?
No, I can't give away what's going to open it.
Okay,
I can't really. But no, the tracks from the EP are great. They're well rehearsed, and then there's lots of other songs that we've got to a good place. Yeah. So there's a good 45 minutes, I reckon, 50 minutes set in there.
Yeah.
And
how are you feeling?
I was thinking about sets on first albums though. Again, it's really it's interesting. It's like another kind of. I remember seeing the Strokes at Reading play, I think 30-minute headline set.
I mean, I'm a big fan of just like, particularly like when you're. But the thing is, when you're the band like the Strokes and you arrive with a debut album like that, to basically play it from front to back in 30 minutes was perfect, wasn't it?
I didn't need more. I was happy. I didn't go. I want to hear some B-side or some kind of. I want to hear your next record. I don't know. Just.
I love it when bands, even bands when they headline, because I think there's that thing, isn't it? When you get to headline a big festival, you're maybe expected, people want their money's worth, they want to play for probably now like 2 hours or whatever, and there's always going to be like lulls in that set. I'd rather they just came on
hammer it.
Exactly.
I know, just go through bash like just big song, I don't know, I mean it's very difficult for me in my position, which is having one EP out. It's not like, hey, I could go on the mic and say, I promise you'll know this in 6 months' time. This will be the one you're singing. But I don't know. I feel quite confident in the songs that I've got at the moment. That some of them are kind of fairly instant, so I don't think they take too much. They're not too demanding on the listener to try and jump on board, So, but yeah, I think that like I said, I'm going through the set list and like ideas of what to play, and I'm like, maybe I need a cover, or maybe I need 2 covers, but actually, I think I'm going to just play what I've got and not rely on anything else, and it won't be an hour and a half set, I promise you that. But what it will be just consummated. It'll just be the best stuff rather than like boring people with.
There'd be no
jams,
wig outs,
no bongo solos, no like.
That comes later.
That comes later down the line, doesn't it? Yeah. When you got extra musicians who can do that. Yeah, but I was also like, I like the idea of like, I don't know. Correct me if does it sound like good playing a whole record in its entirety from start to finish? Is it too predictable? I can never work that one out.
Early on, I think it's fine, to be completely honest. If that's how, when you play it live, it feels right to be sequenced in that way, I think that's fine.
Yeah, because obviously, when you make an album or a record,
you deliberately
sequence it. So, but I don't know if that bores people. So many questions.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think people are generally into it. I think.
Have you seen any of those classic albums live?
Yeah, a number of times actually. The most recent was Pet Sounds, Brian Wilson playing that at Primavera, and I mean, for me, that's of the classics. It stands up. It just sounds incredible, and it sounds even better when there's like 60,000 people and the sun's coming down.
Yeah,
still, but generally, I don't know. It feels like some bands get to a point in their career where that feels like the obvious next thing to do, perhaps.
There's always that like, I don't know. Do we cash in and do we do something to give that little spike, to play that record that people want to hear? Yeah,
and I do admire musicians that say. I remember interviewing Kelly from Block Party a few years ago, and the 10-year anniversary of Silent Alarm was approaching, and I said, well, would you be tempted to do any gigs like to play Silent Alarm in its entirety? And he was like, I will never do that. He was like, I'm just not a fan of the way bands do that.
Yeah.
And I sort of thought, fair enough.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, out of band curves, like the best would be probably like a Radiohead, where you never have to rely on doing a kind of like
true. I don't think Radiohead will ever do that.
No, never. It's a funny one, isn't it? But it's weird because it's kind of more accepted. I remember at the time it wasn't as. There was always people were a little bit sniffy about bands coming back to do an album or coming back to do it. But now it seems like it happens all the time. There's like a constant. Like every year there'll be another band bringing out. I mean, I saw Horses, Patti Smith. That was brilliant last year, and I really enjoyed that.
Yeah,
I was in New York and I caught Steely Dan doing Aja, which was incredible. Like that was amazing. Television Marquee Moon, like that was a good one.
I think it's.
But then you'll pay. You'll I don't know. You're not television in the 1970s playing it. Do you know what I mean? But then that's not to say as you get older, it doesn't mean that it can't be relevant and can't resonate to a different audience.
I think I'm kind of torn over it, to be honest, because I think when you experience it, often it's the only chance you ever get to experience a band playing some of those songs because they don't necessarily drop them into the set normally. So that's a kind of special thing. But equally, you kind of know every move. You've listened to that record thoroughly if you're going to go and see somebody play something in full. And so all of the unpredictability about the set is kind of like pulled out, and it can sometimes not be that exciting.
Yeah.
So it's a difficult.
Do you know what I'm going to do? I'm not going to play my music in any kind of. I'm just going to make it up every night.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think
you made a decision right here.
I think I'm not even going to have a set list. I've just realized. I've just decided. I think I'll just turn up and I'll just, we'll all look at each other and say, okay, Shot Machine, let's play Open Up the Sky.
Yeah, I think that's good.
As long as you know what the first song is together.
Yeah.
When you go on stage.
Otherwise you all just start playing.
Otherwise you can play. Yeah.
That's a disastrous.
Which I have done in the past. I've actually been on stage. Yeah.
Go, what are we going to play first?
Well, no, with Klaxons, I remember we were in Ireland and we were playing in Dublin, and it was part of some kind of an NME tour, and we got on stage and we were flying. I don't know. We were on something, and we were all playing. I think we looked around at each other, and for some reason the music wasn't gelling. And I think we realised that we were all playing different songs at the same time.
Those days.
Those were the days. Yeah.
What happened next?
Well, here I am. Yeah, I made it.
You made it through.
I made it to this funny little room. Yeah.
Yeah. What's talk to me about the origins of Shot Machine. So, the moments, the weeks, the kind of months after, you did those final shows with Klaxons, and then you decided to do Shot Machine. When did you first write your first piece of music after Klaxons had come to an end and knew that you wanted to sort of do something with it?
Well, I had after the band ended, I just had a little bit of time just to kind of take stock and just kind of think about what I actually wanted to do with my life, which is, it wasn't kind of, it was, I just was kind of, it was a juncture in my life where I was like, do I want to continue with music or do I want to do something else? If I want to do something else, what the hell is that something else? When I've only ever been a musician, I mean, I've worked in bars and I've had jobs before I was in the band, but like, it's kind of like the only thing I know is music. And I had a bit of I was just like questioning, do I love music anymore? Am I still as passionate as I was when I was 18 about music? And a lot of those, and I wasn't sure. I was just like, I remember looking at I was like, what have I been listening to recently? And again, it was just like, second LCD record, like Blur Blur. And I just not listened. I don't know. I just not kept up. I don't know. I just kind of maybe drifted a little bit and just kind of not bothered listening to music as much, not caring as much, and feeling a little bit kind of jaded by it all a little, And then I went through this whole process of like, okay, what am I going to do then if I'm not going to be a musician? And that's when I thought, okay, well, I'm going to get into wine. And so then I had this moment of trying to drink lots of wine and figure out what I like and figure out like.
I've got a sort of mental picture of you just kind of, with a nice glass of wine, just thinking, I I could do wine.
Just straight down to Threshers and bought, okay, I'm going to buy an Australian, I'm going to get a French Southern Red, I'm going to get, a Spanish Rioja, and then...
How do I make this a business?
I'm going to put this on paper, and how does this become a job?
This one, you're going to, did you have a bit of paper and you were marking, like, the body of the wine, the scent,
nose, the palate,
exactly.
the palate, yeah. Marks, I was just kind of saying,
9 out of 10 for fruitiness.
Have I got a future in this? If so, what is this future? It's very blurry after my third bottle of Cab Franc.
So did you like genuinely entertain that as a kind of avenue?
I mean, in all seriousness, it's something I kind of weirdly got into like last few years. Just like there's this weird group of musicians who kind of. It's weird. I think in general, like loads of musicians and loads of people who were probably kind of like potential future musicians at their point in their lives when they were like 18. Became chefs or winemakers or making beer and having their own like craft brewery, and because it became more rock and roll to be in food than in music. I genuinely believe that there's probably less people in bands because it's way cooler now. There are more TV shows. They're seen as rock stars. Yeah.
Have you been to Gus from Alt J's restaurant in East London?
No. He's your chef.
Yeah, he cooks. He cooked when we went in there and he cooked us lunch. It was.
It just this is the world we live in now.
Yeah, the best fish finger sandwich I think I've ever had.
No, you're kidding me. Okay, I'm going to check this out. All right, I like a fish finger sandwich. I haven't had one for years. I mean, I'm guessing it's a kind of a twist on the bird's eye.
Yeah, on the bird's eye classic.
Yeah,
it's not Hovis and bird's eye.
It's not.
It's
I bet he batters its beautiful cod that he is sustainably caught cod from the coast of Devon that
is delicately pan fried.
Delicately pan, triple cooked breadcrumb batter or something.
Chunky chips.
Oh man,
light salad garnish.
Living the dream.
But maybe that is the new rock and roll.
I genuinely think. I mean, one of the guys who was in a band called Hope of the States. He's got apparently a really good restaurant somewhere. You've got, who else is there? I think, is it Richie Horton or someone? He's got a bar. Right. Who's the guy in Germany? I think it probably is Horton or someone that's got a kind of a sake bar in Berlin. The list goes on, but I think there's a genuine link between food and music.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I'm all for it. I mean, it's great. And I love food and wine, and it's great that people are into this. But there's definitely probably less people into wanting to be in bands. It's probably because there's not the glamour of it. I don't know, the shine's probably kind of, I don't know, maybe it's less bright, but when you could have a show on Netflix and be an Instagram chef or...
Oh, an Instagram chef.
That's awful, isn't it?
2016, what are you doing?
Oh God, come on, pick up guitars and make some noise.
Change some lives.
So anyway, after that, I eventually had an epiphany of like, do you know what? This isn't me. I am actually, after a bit of soul search, I was like, no, music is what I love. Music's what I've always done. Let's just get back to get in my music room and sit around the piano and try and make things and finish them. Because I think it's quite easy as well when you're in a band to kind of just not finish things, to come up with sketches and then bring them to the band table, and then you kind of flesh them out into something. Mm-hmm. But with this, I was like, well, there is no band. This is me, so I've got to kind of finish these things. So you're less, you're reliant on yourself and yourself only. So yeah, I just started making demos, started kind of reacquainting myself with the things that I loved, which is, you said earlier, Brian Wilson, but, Beach Boys, Pet Sounds, to like Surf's Up, to Todd Rundgren, to the Beatles, to early Paul McCartney, to Soft Bulletin, Flaming Lips, and just the stuff that when I was a kid, I was just like, this is what I really like. This is like my bread and butter. This is like my go-to. And I really enjoyed listening to those records and remembering them. And I wanted to make music that I wanted the songs to be really strong, because that's what I really like about those records. They've got really great melodies, really great songs, production's like a little bit odd and left to center. And I wanted to make something like that, but now making something that sounds a little bit more progressive and kind of relevant to now rather than a retro record in any way. You know, I wanted to like nod to the things I love. I wanted to make it like a really well played, good musicianship kind of record. If you see what I mean?
Tell us a bit about the process of making this EP then. So you reunited with James Ford, who you've known for years, through the kind of Klaxon's connection, and you went to France to record it, and you bunged all of your instruments in the back of a van and drove down there. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I got before I started this record, it was just, you know, I'd parted ways with my last manager. Who was, you know, Klaxon's manager for 10 years. Brilliant, he's a great guy. But I just wanted to make sure I have just no associations, just nothing. I just wanted to start fresh, and I thought the only way I can do any of this is just kind of, I've got to make the thing.
Yeah,
I've got to have complete control of it. I have to do all the creative thing, make the album, the record, the EP, make as much music as possible with the person I wanted to make it with, which was James Ford, and then figure out the rest, really. Yeah, and I just thought, okay, I can't like afford to go to a fancy pants studio. I called James up and sent him a load of demos, and he was like, yeah, I want to make this. And I was like, can we just do it as cheap and as kind of like easy as possible? And we just threw all of our instruments into a van and hired a cabin in the south of France, and we just like holed up there, really. And we just hung out and just kind of like fleshed out these demos into the demos were kind of, they were all there. They had the piano, they had the bass, they had all the instruments on it, but they didn't have the live drums. And it was just then about, when we were down in France, is making sure the takes were great and making sure, you know, like James is a brilliant drummer, and he's a brilliant bass player, but I just wanted to make sure that he could just kind of make them sound a little bit better and move. And
was it important this time to go into the studio with songs that you felt were basically complete?
Yeah, like I don't ever want to go into a studio without written songs. As in, like I've done it. I've been into studios many a time with just like, I don't know, like a vocal for the verse or like a few chords or a riff, and it's just like you're wasting time and money because I don't know. I understand about studio exploration, but unless you're in a position where you can hire a studio for like 6 months and just play around in it, you know, then that, which is great if you can do that. But I had like 3-4 weeks of time with James. I just think that not having the songs written is that just like element of like, just, it could end up great, it could end up really bad, it could end up okay, and you don't want the uncertainty when you're recording, I think. So that's the kind of state of mind I'm in when I record now. I just until the songs are ready, I'm not going to bother, because it's just totally waste of everyone's time. And also James is exactly the same mindset. He's just, you know, for him, like, how does he know what he's producing unless he's got the finished article or the songs, you know?
And he's a man, presumably you have to find a window to work with James.
Yeah, he's so busy. He's just like, there was a lot of kind of, I think I booked him about 6-7 months in advance. There's, you know, like between like, I forget what he was doing, but I think he was doing Foals before, that was it. Which, funnily enough, was actually in this amazing studio around the corner from where we recorded in a cabin. So he'd gone from recording in La Fabrique, which is like where Nick Cave made the Bad Seeds, their last record.
Right.
Radiohead did their last record in. So it's the fanciest, nicest studio full of lovely people working there. And we were just round the corner in this cabin.
You're like, hey,
just
James.
like, hey James, yeah, and I said like,
the toilet's not working, by the way.
Yeah, James, it's not going to be that glamorous. There's no catering, you know, but I can provide
baguettes,
cheese, rosé, you know, like, you know, outdoors, you know, so fresh air. And we were recording in the middle of summer, and we didn't consider how hot it would be, and you know, a hot wooden cabin and lots of vintage gear, and it's just a recipe for disaster. And one amp blew, monitors, speakers blew, and you know, all sorts was dying on us as we were recording. And the lovely people at La Fabrique actually just they came. I made a couple of like emergency calls to them, and they came over and fixed amps for me on the sly, and was a really fun, easy record to make. Like it was just I couldn't have gone any better. It was nice, the perfect kind of recording session. You know, it was just an absolute breeze, and getting up every morning not fearing about anything, just kind of getting up, knowing what you have to do, and ticking off the boxes. You know, bass done, drums done. You know, move on.
You mentioned earlier it was important to sort of break free and do this thing as all afresh, basically. How do you look back on that kind of 10 years in Klaxons, and why is it important to now basically start afresh?
I look back on it in a really kind of warm and kind of a loving way. I don't have any kind of resentment or any kind of anger in me at all of how it went and how it panned out. And you know, I think it was a very crazy ride that we were on for 10 years of incredible highs, and many lows as well. You know, it wasn't a slow curve of ascent. It was straight up, you know, doing all these things that we kind of I just couldn't imagine you would like ever do these things, you know, like the Brit Awards with Rihanna to like the Mercury Prize, or I don't know, just all these. For me, it was just, I remember at the start, it was just like how I always remember this, like the feeling of playing Reading Festival for the first time. I remember going when I was 11 to see the Rock Day at Reading, and it was my dream to just be on stage and play at Reading Festival. And when we first did it, it was just insane. It was just this tent full of kids in neon and bodies everywhere, and like it was just a brilliant blur. And then we just along the way we just did everything that I think we did it all. I don't know what else we could have done. You know, I don't know what. I know bands. You know, you aim for like. You know, I guess I don't know. Do you aim for stadiums and arenas? I don't know if you do. I don't know. You just aim to just keep making stuff that you're really proud of and really love, and hopefully there's an audience for it. I you know, even the bad bits were really, really, looking back now, they're just crazy, and they were just you know,
were they the
part of the story
of like making a record points, or like
man, like totally, you know. First record was a breeze. Second record, we went through this, you know, really hard period of trying to make a follow up to a record that sold well and people were into and people felt connected to, and felt there's that like I remember like just walking on the high street and like you go past H&M or Topshop and there'd be like the new rave section, and you'd be like, I was like, what is this? And it wasn't even anything that, I don't know, it was a weird thing because it didn't have like a sound, a specific thing, or like it wasn't like punk or.
But it did permeate culture. Like maybe, you know, not on the scale that punk did in terms of like revolutionising things.
Yeah.
But certainly, like you say, enough to be on the high street.
Yeah, which was weird. And I remember, I think early on, walking around Bristol, which was like one of our first gigs, and I think we all sprayed our Converse pink, and people would shout out the window, "Gay!" Or, I'm not joking, they'd shout at us for wearing all sorts, and you'd just be like, what?
This is only 10 years ago.
This is only like 10 years ago. And then I think the year after, it was actually, people were a little bit kind of, they were less, I don't know, grey about
ignorant.
it. Yeah, ignorant, and less like, oh God, like, what, it's just what planet are you on? I don't know, like, I think that what we did was like, we injected a bit of colour into a very, like, monochrome kind of scene. You know, it was kind of very London libertines, you know, lots of meat and veg rock or indie rock, you know. And then I think what we were trying to do was make something a little bit weirder and colourful, and I do think that, I'm not saying it was not just us, but we were one of the first bands to kind of do something a little bit more psychedelic and a bit more like, I don't know, like more Sgt. Pepper's tail end of the Beatles rather than your stodgy rock, you know what I mean? The like rock by numbers. We were just like, there was very weird references that we had in our music, and there were like very weird, not only like lyrical references, but also musical references. And we were into like Bill Drummond and like trying to mix like ABBA with the KLF, and you know, it's just, I think for people it was quite interesting at the time.
You mentioned a couple of those significant points in the career of Klaxons. What are the kind of moments you kind of like file in your memory from that like decade? Is it the Brits with Rihanna? Is it winning the Mercury Prize? Is it playing the Readings and the Glastonburys? Or you know, what are the things that you kind of like almost, you know, you store in your mind?
The big one was we headlined the Tent at Reading, and it was at the same time as Smashing Pumpkins, who were just reformed, I think, and they were on the same time. And I was
at this show.
Do you remember that one?
Yeah.
Do you know? And it was it's just a huge deal. Like I said, for me, because I used to go to Reading all the time. It was like everyone did. It was there, you know, you got your GCSE results, and then you went to Reading Festival. And
Absolutely.
It was like, that was my youth, was like misspent adventures at Reading Festival. So to play it and to be like, you know, headlining that tent was just such a huge deal, and it was full, and it was, you know, people couldn't get in the tent. It was just it was probably our like highest point as a band. And then it was just, for me, and then like I said, we had another, you know, we made another couple of records that I'm really proud of, but it was time for me to then like draw a line under it, and just like I need to do something else to feel like I'm exciting myself with music. You know, I kind of just thought, I think we could have just done, like, we could have carried on. Like I said, we were gigging better than ever. We were, you know, it's really funny. You know, we'd turn up to Prague or to Budapest or all over Europe, and we people knew us as the name of Klaxons. But I just don't know how many people were like, I don't know. It just didn't feel the same as. It didn't feel the same as the magic wasn't the same as what it was when we started. I didn't feel, you know. Having said that, we still loved hanging out with each other, and we still were a fun band. But I just needed to make something. I needed to get like creative again and try and kind of shake things up a little bit. And yeah, again, bands are really interesting. Bands like to remain relevant and to remain exciting and kind of interesting. It's really hard for bands to continue that, especially after, like, I mean, 3-4 albums in, 5 albums in, whatever. I think the classic move is to get a producer from outside your world in to try and shake things up a little bit.
Yeah.
Other than that, I don't know how I still think it's mental that, like, a band is like, okay, these 3-4 people and their chemistry, and they are supposed to just be exciting and make interesting stuff together forever. Because it doesn't work like that for any other creative medium.
Do you think is that like, are music fans overly demanding in that sense, or just there's an expectation, isn't it? Is that because some legendary bands have managed to do that? I don't know. It's an interesting
there's
question.
so few that have, though. I mean, like, how many more than have had longer than a 10-year period of like creativity together, where they're constantly trying to, you know, Radiohead, obviously, over, you know, the beacon of, like, you know, Pink Floyd. But again, Pink Floyd kind of was, what, like 15 years maybe? You know, 15, I don't know. Like, I just think it's Sonic Youth made lots of records, you know, Blur. It's really hard push to think of bands that, like, I think you need to kind of go away and do other things to then get some perspective on things, and then to come back to it maybe, you know. I think it's easy to get bored of, like, methods and, like, working in certain ways. That's when I tell you what, that's when you get an Eno on board, isn't it? That's when you give Brian a call and go, hey,
can you just come in and just like shake us up?
Do you mind if you come in, bring your cards, and let's or you do Metallica and you get the therapist involved.
Yeah, make a documentary about it.
And then make a documentary about it. That's definitely shaking things up.
I would have watched the Klaxons documentary by the end.
Oh God. It's too soon.
Too soon.
It'd be too soon for me to watch it.
What was the final question on Klaxons? What I'm interested to know, you play the final show, the next morning, and you are literally kind of parting ways for the final time.
Yeah.
What's that moment like? I mean, because you were friends first and foremost. Like, do you sort of shake hands and be like, oh,
no,
all the best,
really,
mate? Or...
In fairness, it was a bit odd. It was just like we walked off stage, and then I think we went different places. I went to LA. Simon went I think a couple went back to London. We all just like went off.
Yeah.
It was like one of those. We weren't on the same flight together. We were all on different flights. So it wasn't like a shake hands. That was fun. See you in soon.
Yeah.
I moved to New York for a bit. So and Simon was living there, so I saw lots of Simon. And then me and Jamie have started hanging out recently. So that's nice.
Yeah.
It's nice that we can be friends outside of the musical thing that we created.
Yeah, and have a few drinks and like reminisce.
A few drinks, yeah, and go, wasn't that weird?
Just go, no, I actually remembered something from the other day. And
yeah, I know, yeah.
Do you remember that? Yeah.
Do you remember that? Yeah.
With Shot Machine, you were fundamentally starting out afresh with new music yourself, on your own for the first time. So I'm interested to know what it feels like being responsible for everything that goes with it, the decision making, the artwork, the social media presence.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, does it excite you? Does it, do you feel a bit vulnerable? How do you feel about it all?
It's totally different to what I know. So it's whereas in a band you can share the responsibility, it all comes from you. But the whole like, whether it be doing all the interviews, all the social media thing aspect that now you have to do, it's like it's kind of a 24/7 thing. You can't it's not like I'm going to switch off for a couple of weeks and I'll see you later.
Nobody else.
You guys can take a
Shot Machine.
Yeah, exactly. Nobody else is going to tweet. Yeah, so it's different, but that's part of the fun of it. It's something I've never done before.
With Shot Machine, then we've heard the EP, but presumably, I mean, this feels very much like the way you're talking about it is that this is the start of a kind of new long-term chapter. Is that fair to say? You see this as like something you're going to do. This isn't just like getting a band together to play a couple of gigs now. Like you want to make more new music. You want to make a record. Like, what's the plan?
Yeah, no. There's already like more music made, and there's already like more music to come. Tours, a lot. It's not like a oh yeah, I'm going to go back to wine now. I'm not going to entertain that now. I'm well and truly focused on Shot Machine and making it as brilliant as I possibly can. I feel like I feel in a really kind of like productive period of my musical life, and I don't feel like I've got any there's no like people telling me what to do apart from myself. There's no label saying you have to do this or make that, or there's no bandmates that are saying we actually should make something like this. It's all kind of for me, and that is incredibly like freeing and liberating, and it kind of like you can go off wherever you want, and I know what I don't want to be, which is always a good thing to have, is like, it's good to be free, but to have a certain kind of boundaries. Like, I'm not going to go in with the latest EDM producer to make some kind of house track. Like, I really, really care about this project. I care about certain things, I guess. I care incredibly about this project, about the music. But I care less about trying to please people or compromise. I don't know, like, I care less. I like about, like, I don't know, like numbers and trying to be on certain playlists and try and, all those things are cool if you're on them, but they're not like, oh my God, this is going to define the project. With Klaxons, a lot of it was about, like, I don't know, there'd always be a disappointment if you didn't do certain things. And I'm not going to be disappointed in it if my YouTube numbers aren't at a certain point, if I haven't got X amount of Instagram followers by a certain point. Like, none of that is relevant to me. It's just like, I want to keep making music that I'm really proud of, and hopefully I'll find an audience for it. That's it. I just got to kind of keep making stuff that I feels good. Maybe along the way I'll get like some A-list radio hit that people love, but I'm not going to compromise, and I'm not going to try and make something cynical and try and do it. I just want to do it all on my terms, really, and I know it was quite good because I've learned from my past about, I had a 10-year University of Rock degree. I can see I know I've lived I have had a very weird musical career. I've had the spikes, and I think I just want to make it constant and just be able to, as long as I can just keep making stuff, that's all I'll be happy with, really. For now, but who knows? Like, life's such a weird thing, You never know. Like, 10 years' time, I might be like, maybe let's take this wine thing more seriously, or let's I don't know. All I can do is follow what I'm passionate about, and that's it. And if I can make a living and a life out of doing the things I love, then I'll be a happy man.